Alright guys, so it's Handwritten Robot here, part 2 of the video. Sorry, it's kind of a long one. I'm really sorry. But back to what I was saying, hopefully you guys were thinking about, you know, are you ready to step out? Are you going to, do you want to even fight back? Are you tired of being taunted by the enemy, and do you want to beat it? You know? And so what I'm saying to you is that if you're going to step out like David did, understanding that he's weak, and understanding that you are weak, and I understand that I am weak. 'Cause when I step out to beat lust, and I put myself out there, I do it because I know I'm weak, and I know that God works through our weaknesses. That's how our God works. The God of Abraham works like that. And so David, understanding his weaknesses, understanding he's small, weak, and young, has no experience in the battlefield. He understands that. But what he does understand, when Saul tells him that he can't do it because he's so young and he has no experience, and he tells him that Goliath has been killing people since he was young, a youth. That's what specifically Saul says. He says he's been killing since he was a youth. Basically meaning that Goliath was a born warrior, a born soldier. Okay? And I just want to stress that. And so David tells Saul, when I was back shepherding, Saul, he's telling him, he's like, when I was shepherding, I fought lions and bears. I defended my sheep, my flock. I took care of them. And the only way I was able to beat those huge bears and those fierce tigers was with the power of God. He goes, God protected me to protect my flock. He says, God gave me the strength. God will strengthen me. And David has this thought, this process of, he can't do it, but God can. He understands that he's small. But you know what he also understands? That God is so big. That his God is so big, so strong, so beautiful, and amazing, that he can do anything. Even make a small person like David, a weak person like David, come up against a man like Goliath. And so as we go on in the story, Saul says, go and the Lord will be with you. Saul, first of all, before this, Saul was looking at it with a worldly mind. I mean, do we look at it with a worldly mind sometimes? Like, think about it. Like, when we go against the enemy, we need to make sure that we take in encouragement. We are around people who are going to encourage us. Fellow brothers and sisters who are going to encourage us. It's hard sometimes to be around people like that. So one of the steps to beating this is being in a place of spiritual refreshment, to where you'll get that encouragement and that building you up, not in pride, but in encouragement to beat the enemy and follow in Christ. You see what I'm saying? And you need that. You need the opposite of what Saul's doing to David, okay? Like, he's telling him, you're no good, you can't do this. And Saul doesn't see, he's got these blinders on of the world, saying, all I see is man, a tiny man. But what God sees, God has no blinders. He sees that boy's heart. He sees David's pumping, beating, loving heart for God. God sees that. Okay? Has nothing to do with you and your skin and your muscles and what you can do. It's what God can do and how much you love Him. Understand that first. And so as we continue in the story, like I said, Saul says, "Go and the Lord be with you." So they give David some armor and stuff like that, and then David puts it on, and it's so heavy. He's like, "I can't use this." So he takes it all off, and he goes out there in the clothes he wore with a slingshot, with a sling and a rock and a couple of pebbles. And so he goes out there, and he goes to the battlefield, and this giant Philistine, this burly man, sees him, and he's just like, "Really? This is what you send out of all the Israelites? You send me this tiny boy?" You know? He underestimates David. Because the Philistine sees only the skin and the flesh. And so he sees him, and what he does is, what happens next is amazing. Yeah, it's a war story, but it's beautiful. Because after everything's said and done, and Goliath says something, David says a little something. David walks forward, and he pulls a pebble from his little bag, and he puts the pebble in his sling, and he slings it around, lets it go. And it's the Goliath of Gath, right there in the head. A perfect shot. And kills him instantly. And it wasn't David that did it. It was God. It was God that kept that pebble going and sunk it into his head. It was God that killed that Goliath. He just used David to do it. And what this story and this has taught me is that with God, you can do anything. With God, you can beat the lust. You can beat the sin and the things you're struggling with right now. You can beat the depression, the lies, the drama, and the things you're going through, whether it's in your schools, your homes, your anything. Listen to me. God is there to help you. You just have to allow Him to. Understand you are weak and that He will work through your weaknesses. Because He is so strong. Because He is so big. God will do that for you. Because He loves you. Like He loved David. He helped David through that battle. He helped David prevail. As it says in verse 50, so David prevailed over the Philistine. Think about that word. Are you ready to prevail? To win, to have victory over the enemy? To take down these little battles that you have throughout the day and in the weeks and the months and the years of your life? If you're ready to beat this and then stop letting the enemy run your life, start listening to God and surrendering yourself to Him. It'll change you. I just pray that you guys use this and you understand how big God is and how much He can work in your life. And understand that it's not about you and what you can do. It's about your love for God and your desire for your growth in Christ. So I'll leave you with one thing. Till next time, let's focus on God, okay? Let's figure out where He wants us and just surrender yourself to Him. Hope you guys have a good one. God bless.